everybody, what's going on? This is Sam from Historic Travels and welcome to another video. And as always, before we get started today, I'd just like to take a quick moment to welcome all my new subscribers and to thank everybody who's been leaving me comments and messages down below. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to take a couple extra steps to help support the channel a little bit more, there's a merch store and a Patreon for this channel in the links below. Thank you guys so much for all your support. All right, guys, the time has finally come to continue the story of the Titanic sister ship, the RMS Olympic. When we last left the RMS Olympic, World War I had just broken out in Europe, and we are now going to be talking about the Olympic's role and everything that it did during the events of World War I. All right, everybody, well, hey, without any further ado, let's get into it. On August 4th, 1914, World War I officially broke out in Europe. And if you were somebody who lived in one of the countries that was involved in the war, it was impossible for you not to be impacted by the war in some way. Everyone, every last man, woman, and child would be impacted by this horrible, horrible war. And the effects of the war wasn't limited to just people. All the businesses that were in the countries that were involved in the war would also be greatly impacted by how horrible this war was. And yes, this also includes the maritime industry companies like the White Star Line. And this war would also have a huge effect on ocean liners that would do the transatlantic crossings between Europe and America. So of course, this would also include the Titanic sister ship, the RMS Olympic. Now, for the first couple of months of World War I, the Olympic continued to do regular passenger runs between Europe and the United States. Although, as you can imagine, the number of people going from America to Europe during this time was extremely low. Although the Olympic did have a pretty high number of passengers from the Europe to America crossing. Mostly this was just Americans that were living in Europe who were trying to escape the war and get back home before they ended up getting trapped in Europe, which was a real possibility. Remember, America didn't get involved in World War I for quite some time. But because the threat of German U-boats during this time period was so bad, the White Star Line decided to make a number of changes to the Olympic's appearance so they could try to minimize the risk that this ship faced with U-boats. Number one, they had the ship painted all gray. Number two, they had every single porthole window on the Olympic blocked out so no light could pass through it. And then number three, they turned off every single deck light on the Olympic. And the whole idea around all these changes was to try to make it as hard as possible for the captain of a U-boat to spot the Olympic through the submarine's periscope. Although, as the threat of U-boats continued to increase as the war raged on, and due to low ridership, the White Star Line decided it just wasn't worth the risk or money to continue operating the Olympic during this time of war. So, on October 21st, 1914, the White Star Line had the Olympic depart New York, bound for Europe, for her last and final voyage of the war. It was the White Star Line's intention at this time period just to get the Olympic home, and then they would permanently dock the ship where she would wait out the war, and then once the war was over, the ship would then resume passenger services. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of insight into how few passengers would be on board the Olympic during its final commercial voyage of the war, well, let me just put it like this. Under normal circumstances, like not wartime, the Olympic has a carrying capacity for close to 2,500 passengers. So that's operating under full load. But on its last commercial voyage of the war from America to Europe, the Olympic only had 153 passengers on board. Just think about that for a moment. Out of this entire ship, there was only 153 people on board. That's absolutely insane to me. Just imagine how creepy it would be to walk around the Olympic and honestly hardly ever see anyone. I mean, on a ship this big with only 153 people on board, honestly, the Olympic would feel like a ghost ship. Although, despite the low ridership, life on board the Olympic was pretty routine during this voyage. The weather was good, the passengers enjoyed themselves, the ship made good time, and most importantly, the Olympic didn't encounter any U-boats. So honestly, in terms of everything that was going on, life on board the Olympic was pretty routine. Although, on the 6th day of the voyage, as the Olympic was passing Northern Ireland, the ship received a distress call. So the Olympic changed course to see if it could help out the stricken vessel. The distress call emanated from a British battleship known as the HMS Audacious. The HMS Audacious struck a mine not far off the Irish coastline, and the ship was rapidly taking on water. Now, when the Olympic arrived on scene, there were already two other ships attempting to help out with the Audacious, the HMS Liverpool and the HMS Fury. Now, what all three ships decided to do was to attempt to tow the Audacious in closer to the shoreline where they could attempt to save the stricken vessel. They made several attempts to attach tow cables to the Audacious and try to drag it closer to shore, although every single one of these attempts failed. Eventually, the Audacious began to rapidly sink, and it was decided then to abandon the ship, and the Audacious eventually went down. Once the Audacious sank, the Olympic picked up 250 survivors from the Audacious, and then the Olympic changed course and headed towards Ireland, where it would then attempt to drop off all of the Audacious's crew. The British Admiralty was very concerned about the sinking of the Audacious. They were afraid that if news of this ship's going down would spread to the general public, that it would greatly demoralize them. And they were also afraid about this effect happening to their troops on the front lines. Because I'm telling you, one thing you definitely don't want in a time of war is for your troops to become demoralized. So what they decided to do was have the Olympic stay relatively close to the site at which the Audacious went down. More specifically, the Olympic was close to an area in Ireland known as Lough Swilly. So they had the Olympic held there in custody, and no one was allowed to disembark the Olympic, and there was a communications blackout from the Olympic. So basically, no one could get off, and there could be no communications from the ship. And they had the Olympic wait there while the Admiralty decided what to do. Now, as some time went by, people on board the Olympic were getting more anxious, and there were people on board the Olympic that had urgent matters to attend to in London and the surrounding areas. So eventually, the Olympic was allowed to proceed to Belfast, where all of its passengers finally disembarked. The RMS Olympic arrived in Belfast in November of 1914, and it was the White Star Line's intention to just have the vessel remain here until the war was over. Although in May of 1915, the British Admiralty needed a bunch of troop ships. Now, at first they were hesitant to pull ships like the Olympic into service, especially because the sinking of the Lusitania had just happened. But the British Admiralty had a massive shortage in vessels at the time, and they desperately needed troop ships. So the Olympic, the Mauretania, and the Aquitania were all pulled in for military service. And eventually, the Olympic sister ship, the HMS Britannic, which at this point was still under construction, would also be used for military service, but it wouldn't be used as a troop ship. It would be used as a hospital ship. Once the decision was made to use the RMS Olympic as a troop ship, the vessel went through a series of changes in order to transform the vessel from its peacetime self and turn it into the vessel that it would need to be in order to help serve the military in this time of war. One of the first things to change on board the Olympic was the ship was equipped with some guns, so if the ship encountered an enemy vessel or enemy submarine, the Olympic would be capable of defending itself. And then they also stripped the vessel of any luxury items that would make the Olympic resemble its peacetime self. So for example, they took out a lot of the Olympic's furniture. They also decreased the number of private rooms on board the ship. And all of this was done in order to increase the carrying capacity of the Olympic. And by doing this, they were able to increase the carrying capacity of this ship from 2,500 passengers all the way up to 6,000 passengers. Man, it's incredible how many people you can squeeze aboard a ship when you're not worried about, luxury stuff, accommodating passengers, and you just need to use it as a means to transport people from point A to point B. So by putting all of these people on board the Olympic, the British Admiralty could now get men where they needed them in order to help out with the war effort. And then, once the wartime preparations to the Olympic were complete, the vessel then set out to begin its new life as a military vessel. The RMS Olympic was transformed into the HMT Olympic. For those of you who don't know, when a passenger ship is at sea and it has the title RMS, it stands for Royal Mail Ship. But since the Olympic was now a military vessel and had the title HMT, this stands for His Majesty Troop Ship. So, for the rest of the war, the Olympic would be known as His Majesty Troop Ship Olympic. Alright everybody, well hey, I'm going to have to wrap up the video here. I'm sorry this video wasn't as long as all the other videos in my Olympic series. I've had a really crazy and very busy week, so I just haven't had as much time to dedicate to working on the Olympic video as I would like to. So to make up for it, in the next video, it's just going to be the continuation of the Olympic story, and I will try to have that video be the regular time frame that these videos usually are. So just stand by for that, and I will try to have that video up either Saturday night or Sunday morning. So I'll do my best, guys. But hey, thank you all for your understanding and patience. You guys are awesome. All right, everybody. Well, hey, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and hey, guys, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are awesome. All right, everybody. Well, hey, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, everybody. Special thanks to Patreon Captain Level supporter Callum Whaley. Thank you so much for all the support, man.